Okay, what's up, guys? It's Bally Brand here. Just entered on the stream. In this video, I'm going to be talking a little bit about HEX. Give me just a minute though, real quick, to take my link and post it on Twitter real quick here. Just a second here. All right, guys, just another minute. I'm almost done. Okay. All right, guys. So we're done with the sharing of this. So what do I want to talk about in this video regarding HEX? Pretty much, I kind of want to go over a couple different resources that you guys can use to look at some HEX metrics and statistics if you haven't already been informed of these websites. So I know Hexologist normally on his daily show kind of goes over some of these websites, so that's what I'm going to be doing a little bit. And if anyone wants to join the live stream, they definitely can. So we'll see where this takes us. But right now, I'm just going to go to share screen real quick. Okay. Kitty stop. Alrighty. Let's just do a little switch of this real quick. Okay, so I hope everyone can see my screen just fine. All right, so right now we're on, actually we don't want to go to Twitter. So right now this website right here is hex.vision. So this, you can see the open stakes, or sorry, not the open stakes. You can see the closed stakes, and you can see the stakes that are currently locked up right now in the contract, and you can see what days they're expiring. So this is the big payday, hence the star right here. But you can see that as far as the shares go, we have 1,255,402 trillion shares that are going to be ending on this day. And then just a little bit before the actual big payday itself, I mean, actually, this wasn't too long ago where we had this amount of stakes and shares. We had 311,386 trillion shares worth of HEX expire just a couple of days ago, if I'm not mistaken. So this website is really good. You can, there's way too much information that I even know what to do with, but you can pretty much look at some statistics on here and explore the website a little bit more. So here's another part of the website. They've got the stake wall of shame. Let me just make sure that my screen, okay, cool. All right, so we're still good on the recording. So yeah, if we go over here, we got the stake wall of shame. Now this is pretty interesting because you've got a lot of people that, they emergency unstaked. Okay, perfect. You can see my screen just fine. So we've got a lot of people that emergency unstaked, and you can see what the penalties they have, hence the name, the wall of shame. Alrighty, so this one, if we filter this real quick, we can see, so yeah, the most that someone paid was 118,672,782 HEX. So that's the HEX that they paid, and they had 595,247,540 HEX staked for, well, they had it staked for a decent amount of time. It looks like 1,380 days, and they served about 52, if I'm not mistaken there. So anyways, that's another cool website, another subsection of this website that you can look at. So another thing we got as well is this, just hex.live, and this has some more information on HEX itself. So let's take a look here. So total supply of HEX, we've got 262.7 billion HEX. The locked amount that are in stakes right now is 54.3 billion HEX, which is 20.67% of the total supply. And then currently we've got 79.33% of the HEX that are circulating that could just be dumped on the market theoretically. So you can see that the amount that's circulating is 208 billion, 208.4 billion out of the 262.7. So I'm just going to go back into the StreamYard and see if anyone's joining in the chat. Doesn't look like anyone is, so I'm just going to continue doing my little talk here. So the amount of free claims, you know, we've had 29,000.15%, and then you can just see some of the information right here. So the amount that's been claimed is 238.1 thousand Bitcoin worth of HEX, which is about 2.58% of the actual Bitcoin supply. So it's pretty impressive that we only have 2.58% of Bitcoin supply that's been claimed, and right now we've still got 97.42% that's potential people that are getting into to the staking when they claim their free HEX with the Bitcoin. As long as they owned it, I think it was like December 1st, something like that. Then they could December 1st, 2019. Then they could claim some free HEX. So what we're going to do next, we can see that the launch phase. So this is in regards to the adoption amplifier. It's saying that it ends in 155 days, and then currently, as far as the actual volume that we have today in the adoption amplifier pool, is 9.7 thousand Ethereum. So that's a lot of Ethereum, and you can see that right now, if you put in 1 Ethereum, you'd be getting 52,500 HEX per Ethereum that you do. And we can also see that right now the value of you're going to get more of your you're going to get more HEX if you use the Uniswap. Say you swap 1 Ethereum for HEX in Uniswap versus the actual adoption amplifier. It looks like you're going to get significantly amount more. I mean, that's 18,000 more HEX, or actually 17,500 more HEX that you're going to get if you put the 1 Ethereum into the Uniswap versus the adoption amplifier. So that's it's saying it's 33% cheaper than the actual adoption amplifier. So that's some interesting information to look at. Let's see. Let's just see if I want to show you guys anything else. So I mean, I guess we can just look at the price real quick. At least currently where it's at. In US dollar value, it's down 5.36%. Bitcoin down 5.98, almost 6%. Okay. So Ethereum, I'm guessing this is the amount that we're down since yesterday, which makes sense because we still got a couple hours to go. Okay, so we are going to come back here and let's remove the stream. Okay. All right, we got Jazz in the house. Nice, Jazz S. So nice job. And he says, "Can you explain big payday, please?" I can definitely try my best. Yeah, we can definitely go over big payday. So let's see here. It's still showing my screen. Let's stop sharing for just a second here. All right, guys. So now we're back on the webcam, which is myself. So a big payday, the way that it works is, what day is it actually that you need to be staked? One second here. Let me look at the day that you actually need to be staked on. So, I mean, in 155 days is when the actual big payday is going to end. I'm not too familiar offhand on which day it is specifically. Let's see here. Give me just a minute to find that, guys. But the point of big payday is when you're actually locked up for a certain amount of time. I think it's like 369 days, something like that. When you're locked on the day of big payday, which is, I believe, November 19th. So I'm pretty sure it's November 19th, guys, is the actual day of big payday. You're going to get, if you have your stake, say if you have 1,000 HEX, and you lock that up into a stake, and you do it after November 19th, so say you staked until November 20th, you would still have the a little bit of bonus from the big payday that you received on that day that you were staking. The way that the big payday works, and there's probably other people that have explained this a lot better than I probably ever could, but yeah, big payday is pretty much a large amount of inflation or supply that is minted from the actual contract itself that Richard and his team wrote. It's a large amount of supply and inflation that goes to the people that are staking on that day. So if I'm not mistaken, it's November 19th that you need to be staked on, and you can actually participate in the big payday. So let me just confirm that real quick by going on to the other tab and just going over to the big payday real quick here. I got a couple stakes that are open, and let me just confirm, guys. Let me just confirm real quick with y'all. Okay. All right. So, you know what? Fuck it. I'm gonna share my screen again real quick here. Let's remove this. Let's share my screen. Okay, so now you guys can see my screen. All right, guys, we're going to go over to this real quick. I'm not going to scroll down and actually show you my stakes just because, I don't know, that's just not necessary right now. But we can see that the November 19th is when the big payday ends. So here's the actual calculator. So if you ever wanted to get into HEX and you had Ethereum, you could do it on this website, or you could go to Uniswap and you could just exchange one Ethereum for HEX as well, which you'd currently be getting more money if you went with the Uniswap route as opposed to the adoption amplifier route. So if this is the adoption amplifier itself, I mean, I'll give that one away where you can see I staked a little bit right there, but yeah, so the adoption amplifier right now, there's 9,724 Ethereum in there, and 510 million HEX are available that are going to the people that actually put in the Ethereum. All right, let's stop sharing the screen real quick. All right, so now we're back. So yeah, big payday, essentially what it is you can see, as we just confirmed, it's November 19th. That's the big payday. And it's a large amount of HEX. I think it's like 500 billion, if I'm not sure. It's a decent amount of HEX that is actually going to the people that are locked and that are staked in. Let's just see if we can. So yeah, I'm not seeing the actual amount of HEX that is for big payday, but I know it's a significant amount of HEX, and pretty much what it's doing is it is incentivizing the people that are joining HEX not to just buy it and leave it in liquidity. It's incentivizing them to actually use it what the crypto was designed for, which was time deposit, certificate of deposit. So it incentivizes you and the people that are, early adopters to lock up their coins and to maybe stake 1 year, 2 years, 3 years. Some people have like 10-year stakes, 15-year stakes, which I think is pretty impressive and pretty cool to see in the community. And if you actually go back to that website, the the hex.live, sorry, the hex.vision. If you go back to the hex.vision website, right now I can see in 2030, that's going to be 10 years from now, we've got some stakes that are expiring in 2030, and then some all the way as far as 2035, which is 15 years from now. So that's pretty much what this cryptocurrency was designed to do, was to pump in value, because most of the value is locked up, which leaves the actual HEX or the shares that are open in liquidity that could be dumped. It leaves those to have more value. So the stuff that's locked up is always going to improve the value, and it's going to raise the value of the coins that are not locked up. It's just as simple as that. So the more people that are locked up, we're just going to see the price go up and up and up. And actually, I do want to share my screen one more time and just show you guys that HEX is on TradingView. Let's go over to here. So I'm pretty sure this is the actual TradingView, even though it says Coin Paprika and then TradingView. But this is HEX right now. We can just see how far we've come. Let's zoom out real quick here. All right, so I think it was December 14th was when the project was started itself, if not a little bit earlier than that. But just look at how, this bar chart goes from, up and down all the way to this day. And I believe this day right here, April 18th, it looks like, I think that was when Richard said one of the big Ethereum whales actually pumped HEX to he pumped the price by like 2 times itself by the amount of Ethereum that he put in. I think that's the day, if I'm not mistaken. So right now, this is just a 4-hour chart. But if we zoom in, let's just take a look here. So I mean, let's just see. This is where we're at. Okay, right about there. So we're actually about. We need about 106.21% more to get back to the all-time high, which was about 0.00677 of a penny. So you can see that we've gone down a little bit, relatively speaking, from the actual top itself. But if you were someone that invested day one, like many of the people that in the community are, then you can just see, even if we come like right here, and we go over to where we're at right now, I mean, what is that, 1,771% gain in 177 days? That's not bad for a certificate of deposit. So let's just come back here. Perfect. All right, let's get back to the chat. One Hexy Mofo. Hello, Hexy. What's up, man? Let's just respond to him. Cool. So yeah, we got some people in the chat, and we got about 5 people watching. If anyone wants to join, feel free. In the actual description itself, I have my cool Ryan Lopez. If anyone wants to join, I've got my link up in the description of my YouTube video. It's got the Brian Jones Twitter account, and there should be a link where you can join to the StreamYard if anyone wanted to. So Ryan Lopez, nice chart analysis. Thanks, man. Nothing too special. Definitely not an expert, but similar to what you do and what Hexologist does. I think it's important for the people in the community to not just watch shows like this, but to also use those websites and explore them yourself, and just kind of play around with HEX and see what it can do. And there's even calculators like on the actual HEX website where you can, say if you did a 5,555-day stake, you can see how much actual percentage of shares that you're going to get if you stake your HEX for that long. So HEX is definitely one of the most mind-blowing cryptocurrencies that are out there, in my opinion. I need to go mow grass, but stop easy to get distracted by. Ermith Noy, good to see you, man. See that you're mowing some lawns. Good for you, man. Good for you on making some extra bucks by mowing some lawns. I definitely respect the grind. My oldest brother owned a lawn business in high school for many years, so I know how that business goes, and I cut a lot of lawns with him as well. So good to see that you're in the HEX community, man. He says, easy to get distracted by HEX talk, and I definitely agree. I've been tuning in to a little bit of Conrad Zen, I believe, is the YouTube channel, but I've been absorbing some more of his content and listening to it, and it's pretty cool that in the HEX community we have OGs, original gangsters like Conrad and like Richard Hart that have been into Bitcoin for a very, very long time. So it's pretty cool that we have those people in our community, because it just goes to show you that when you've got haters that are talking shit on HEX, you see it all the time in Twitter. When you've got those haters that are talking shit, a lot of the shit that they're talking it's not validatable, like if that's even a word, you can't validate it. They'll say HEX is a scam, which is a total straw man of like a sentence or a statement to say that it's a scam. And then when someone asks you about it, that person that said it was a scam, they can't back it up any more than just repeating their phrase of HEX is a scam, HEX is a scam. So the people that are out there that are the naysayers, I mean, that's okay to have, but when you've got some of the people that aren't even in the community, they're just in the crypto community in general, when you've got those people just calling it a blatant scam, or like Richard has said, the term multiple times, the gatekeeping that CoinMarketCap has done, or even some of these YouTube, crypto influencers, if you want to use that term, what they've done, it's just pretty interesting. I think, like Richard was saying in a stream actually recently, that a lot of those people that are following the crypto influencers, some of them in the community are getting mad at the actual content creators because of the censorship of the HEX comments in the chat. I know on a couple of the people that I used to follow, I just went back to their recent videos and just felt like I would go into their live stream and just ask them if they knew about HEX, and some of them you'd be surprised, like you just mention one comment like, hey, did you claim your free HEX? And some of the people in chat just go off. Or I've heard of other people that had their content removed completely by the moderators in the live stream. So that's always when you know that we're on the right side of things and that the crypto is actually doing something. It's when you have so much haters and so many people that are trying to destroy the actual cryptocurrency itself, the value of it, the community. These people that are trolling, I think they're jealous of what HEX has done, and I think they're scared that it's going to continue to go up. So if they can gatekeep as much as they can, and as long as they can, they're going to. But I think eventually there's going to be like a point of no return. Like if you've got like a scale, and eventually you start stacking weight on this side, it's eventually going to collapse and go like this. So I think there's going to be a point of no return where the actual people that are gatekeeping HEX right now, they're not going to be able to gatekeep it for much longer as we enter another bull market and bull run in the HEX price. So we're going to go over to my buddy Ryan Lopez here. Going to start putting my content on DTube. Good stuff, man. Good to see that. I've actually been on DTube maybe once or twice. Haven't been on it as much as I have like DLive. I know that's another streaming platform, and a lot of people, their complaint about it is that it doesn't really archive the storage that well. But from my experience and from the people that I follow currently on DLive, it does. You just have to, when you click their name and when they're not streaming, you have to click the replay section, and then it's got an archive of the videos that that content creator has made. So just a little tip for the people out there with DLive. Okay, perfect. Yeah, so just a little tip out there for the people that maybe that was the reason that they didn't want to get on DLive, was because it doesn't save the person's previous broadcast, which from my experience is not true. So I think it's cool that, you know, Ryan's talking about putting his content on DTube. You know, as I was talking about last night in the stream with RG3, Funding Jim and Ryan, is that, you know, for someone like Hexologist that yesterday was just randomly removed with no prior warnings, no I don't even think he had any strikes on his account. Like maybe he had one strike when he first started, if I might be remembering correctly, but this was just a live stream that he was doing and just got randomly censored. And I can't think of any reason why. So I think it's important to be preemptive, you know, like understand that censorship can happen to anyone. And if you are a content creator, or even if you're not a content creator, but you're following someone that is a content creator, say they're a YouTuber and that's all they post their information on, it's just YouTube, it wouldn't be a bad idea if you were a fan of them to suggest that they get on other platforms and stream their content, because all it takes is, you know, YouTube one day to just say fuck you to Hexologist or to anyone that's been censored, and then you're pretty much shit out of luck, you know. All you've got is the people that are following you on your Twitter or your other platforms that you can go back to and share with them the information that you're just censored. So I think it's important to Ryan's point that, you know, have multiple different streams that you're posting on. You know, you should always be downloading your videos separately and having that on like a external drive, or at least have some sort of backup of it, that if YouTube did decide to delete the video, that you'd be able to have another copy. I actually had that happen on YouTube when with this channel, this Valiant Brand channel, a long time ago, maybe 10 years ago, when YouTube was doing a change. I had about 20 or 30 videos that were from a very, very long time ago, like home videos from a long time ago. And long story short, in the conversion of the account, with like me having to do a new change, it deleted all my videos, and I didn't have those videos. I didn't have a backup of those videos, so I did lose a decent amount of you know, content. Let's go up to giving you HEX. All right, let's change subjects. We got Funding Jim in the house. Funding Jim, can you hear me? Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I can hear you very well. How you doing, my friend?
Good, good. I only have a couple minutes. I'm
okay,
getting over
sure,
the task, yeah. But I saw that you were streaming. So, what topic are you discussing?
Oh, I mean, just kind of like everything. Any topic. I was going on some of the websites. Let's see here, the HEX Vision website. I was kind of going over that for the people that are new to HEX, that you can see like what days the stakes are expiring, and just kind of going over anything and everything. Ryan Lopez was in here talking about he wants to put his content on DTube and have, you know, more than one platform other than just YouTube.
Yeah, I noticed different content providers, creators, you know, they have hopefully a diverse life, and they have either an income source that's outside of crypto. They have other things going on in their life. They're not neglecting their families and other priorities maybe. And I did feel terrible for the deplatforming temporarily, hopefully, of Hexologist.
Sure.
I'm really streaming in a little bit, but I did want to say during later streams or during any commentary I can make, if people start something like a YouTube channel, or they start a streaming schedule like you're doing,
sure,
one of the wise things to do is to start 2 or 3 backup channels, and those backup channels you should have inside your description field. You can say it, you can verbally say it as far as like the address or who to look for when subscribers find your content that might be your primary. that you're broadcasting to. And I'm not saying that you should use StreamYard or tools to broadcast to all three at the same time, because all three then are at risk of at least being temporarily paused or shut down or restricted or gate kept or whatever by YouTube or other platforms. And you can basically have, let's say, 100 subscribers or followers, and then you can, those subscribers, because they can find it inside your description field, they can go ahead and also subscribe to those sub channels that you're creating. And once you have 100 subscribers, then you can change your channel name. It opens up tools to be able to upload longer than 15-minute long clips. There's just a lot of reasons to have a backup being built, even though you're not putting content on it by your audience. And I think that YouTube is going to have to be doing, or people are going to have to be doing that, not just in crypto, but I notice a lot of conservative kind of points of view, they will immediately get blacklisted or shadow banned. Maybe because of what's going on right now in major Democrat states and cities. And you'll see a narrative put forth by media companies, and have no doubt that YouTube is very biased as far as their algorithms that are programmed by the people that program them. So that's what I was going to comment about.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you saying that. I mean, I know you've mentioned that in the other streams that I've seen with you, that yeah, if you're going to have other topics and whatnot that you want to like focus on, maybe create a separate account, a separate YouTube channel that you dedicate that information to. And then if you wanted, to your point, you can have them following you on multiple channels in case some sort of censorship did happen as like a backup.
Yeah. And then other things that, if you have, I see you have talent with technology. A lot of people inside of our community definitely do. It's a subset of people that participate in crypto to begin with, I believe. And,
Yeah.
I see people of all demographics participating in the HEX product, all different age groups. And, there's a little bit more outreach to other genders and different, ethnic preference, or not preferences, but ethnicities or cultures are represented in the HEX. And I like that a lot.
Right.
But I think that a strength can be if people that do learn these tools, like how to use editing software, very simple, hopefully free kinds of software to present clips of 8 hours worth of Richard is a smorgasbord of knowledge, but it also overwhelms a lot of people that might just want to put their toe in the water, so to speak, when it comes to crypto. So I think it's very useful for a second channel or third channel content if someone wants to create something that basically synergizes your efforts in the HEX community by doing walkthroughs or relatively simple little snippets about, like, for example, I use Clip Grab. There might be some other tool that might be better for downloading YouTube high resolution images or videos, and giving credit where credit is due as far as the source, and learning these things that we all have to as far as YouTube or other platforms, and maybe doing a channel that's just about that tech side of it, and use the proper keywords so that people that are looking for how to be content creators, they're first going to discover your channel or maybe a massive channel, and then after that's exhausted, they'll learn from your channel too. But if you can find a niche that you're naturally interested in, you've already accrued a skill set, or you are accruing a skill set because you are enthusiastic about HEX, I think that secondary or third channel can be about that kind of content creation, and that helps other people inside of the community, helps other people do what I'm going to talk about later tonight, which is outreach, genuine, authentic outreach to no-coiner communities, people that are participating in YouTube now as voyeurs or watchers, but they follow a completely different niche than crypto. I think it's going to be very useful if our community can get activated to monetize these other interests that they have outside of crypto. And I think that that's going to be useful over the next 2 to 3 years, regardless of crypto, simply because of the shifting toward a digital economy more so than ever, with the lockdowns and the centralized cities having basically exodus to more of a work at home kind of lifestyle, where you can choose where you live and what you do with your time at home.
Yeah, I definitely agree with what you're saying. Yeah, it's important to your point about the community. There's a lot of people that are wondering like, oh, how do we spread awareness and adoption and things like that, and get more people to click my referral link or join the HEX community. And I think to your point about maybe, or maybe that wasn't your specific point, but yeah, I think it's important to have the community separate from HEX that you're interested. Maybe get them involved, or at least following that type of channel where I don't know, you could relay them information if necessary.
What I was, and I'll talk about also hopefully in the chat later, will be about: one is tribalism, two is edification, and three is no corners. And the edification part comes from our human psychology, that I'm only going to listen to you because I see utility to begin with. If I'm first introduced to you by another person, the so to speak, the door, so to speak, for me to listen to you at all is the referral. And that referral, if it's word of mouth from somebody that I already have some sense of utility or belief that they're acting in my best interest, then I may listen to that referral. So if someone says, I got this amazing toaster, I never had this toaster before, this is 4 slices and it did it perfect, and all these things about a product, then I may listen to that person because I've already vetted their evaluation skills, their ability to look at something and give useful commentary. So when it comes to building outside of HEX or outside of crypto as a whole, I think that that's really something we need to be doing, because all of us can tell that 13 years ago, or however many years ago now, Bitcoin originated. And there's been an adoption curve to a degree, but I feel like it's stagnated completely. We keep paying attention to the charts and hoping that our bags get reinflated, but we really don't want to put a lot of effort into doing so. So what we observe is people like Ivan on Tech, or people like Crypto Chico, or somebody that basically makes daily or routine commentary about the industry as a whole, and we feel that we're participating, but really we're really acting as voyeurs. And my point is that if we can basically find a genuine interest that you already would create content about, and that's really the core of it. If you already have an interest in, let's say, furniture building or exotic travel or Lamborghinis, or whatever it is that you have a niche of information or knowledge or curiosity about, then learn how to create content about that particular niche, because it'll come off authentic, because it is authentic. And from that channel that you build, you can monetize it, you can have affiliate links, you can have all these things that are quote unquote approved by YouTube for you to generate content about, because it's building an audience that's bigger, honestly, than crypto. And I think if you participate in that economy, that the natural interest in a quote unquote celebrity is to know what else they're doing with their life. What else are they occupying their time with when they're not talking about the channel that I'm following on YouTube content creator. So that's kind of my point, is you have a skill set that you're already accruing because you know more than people that never have used StreamYard. Whatever level of understanding of StreamYard you find function in that tool, you utilize it right now. You're communicating to groups or masses potentially, because they will see replay of this content. You're already learning how to basically take a clip from a bigger volume of work and find that bite, that sound bite, or that little bit of knowledge that people may not understand about either crypto as a whole, or about HEX, or about decentralization, all the topics that we hear chatter about, but you can bring that to a new audience and be authentic about it without shoving it down or hard sell or soft selling it to people, disingenuously.
Yeah, that's a good point, Funding Jim. When you mentioned something about like Richard Hart, like one of his live streams. I mean, I think it was his most recent one that was like 5 hours, right? Like to your point about maybe if someone has that capability and that resource to do the video editing, wouldn't be a bad idea if they were a part of like the community and even wanted to like spread little bits of gold from like Richard Hart's his videos. Like it would be a lot better instead of linking them to the actual like 5 hour stream to do a little clip it of that. So that's actually a good point that you brought up earlier.
Yeah. There's a famous quote that John F. Kennedy said, which was, ask not what your country can do, but ask what you can do for your country, I think, something like that.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, and it was a part of a greater speech. It was an excellent commentary about, a sense of belonging, a sense of patriotism, a sense of contribution to a greater good. And I'm not saying specifically that it should be in a marketing context, but my point is, if you are passionate about anything whatsoever, take the knock on the chin or put the sweat equity into learning so that you can advocate from a position of knowledge. It's funny because I can never say the word knowledge without feeling like that guy that was on YouTube forever. It was saying knowledge, talking about his garage, Ferrari or whatever.
Oh yeah, the Ty Lopez guy.
Yeah, I can never say knowledge without it ringing in my head.
Yeah, no, that's funny for sure, man. Yeah, no, that's true. But I mean, I definitely agree with what you're saying, and like even with that point, like ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country type thing. Like I think that concept and that principle that you mentioned definitely does apply to not only like any community, but even the HEX community specifically. Like I know I've seen a lot of into the fire saying haha Ty Lopez, but no, I've seen a lot of times on like Richard Hart his podcast stream where a lot of people are saying, oh, like when are we going to get listed on Coinbase, or when this, when that, and his response every single time is like, don't expect anything from me. Like that's something, if you want it, you guys got to do it. I think that's very very important for the people that want to see HEX succeed. I think that's important for those people to go out there a little bit more and put in a little bit of effort.
Yeah, so it's interesting because I've noticed just over this past week, and maybe it's because it's been exhausting for the past couple of years to fight these battles on a regular basis, develop a software product, launch it, basically put off the fudders and try to communicate the aspects of HEX that are really misunderstood. So kudos to Richard for what he has done up to this point. And what I've noticed is he still does interviews. I just saw a printed interview that was done recently. Obviously, he does participation with live streams or interviews when that interviewer has a real audience, has some utility, not just to Richard, but to the community as a whole. So any person that builds something and it starts to take momentum, they realize that their most rare thing that they can offer is their time, and to triage his time, I can see now that that kind of passing of baton to people that are stepping up as leaders inside of this particular tribe or culture or product or caring about HEX. So I see people like yourself, Ryan Lopez, Litecoin Moses, just a ton of people that are creating content on a regular basis. RG3, there's hexologists, obviously. And what I'm getting at is you can't grow a nation. You can't expect that you're going to have HEX as a product replace Bitcoin on the top of the CMC, or compete with a flippening of top 10 coins that are already sitting there without building community. And it can all fall on one guy's shoulders and say, hey, we have Goliath and the army's going to stay home, but Goliath is going to go out and fight that battle. That just doesn't work effectively anytime in history.
I agree, man. I mean, to your point about, Richard still doing like live streams and whatnot, like even his one most recently with Simon Dixon, I mean, I watched about half of it, haven't finished the rest of it, but I think it's still very beneficial for, I mean, Richard's just one person, but even for us people in the crypto community in general to, maybe branch out for, like when you mentioned like Chico Crypto or some of these other people, like some people are just trying to blatantly like sabotage the actual project itself, or they don't like it, but other people, like it seemed like Simon was on the stream, like just legitimately seemed to almost be like ignorant and not really know what the project was about. I think more awareness maybe like that from other people that are recognized in the space, like Conrad or Simon or even Richard, that have been like Bitcoin OGs. I think that could be beneficial for the actual spreading of adoption, maybe.
Yeah. So understand points about that are about tribes, and it is about Simon. I think is a good-natured person. Simon Dixon is a good-natured person, and he was in that conversation to effectively still be an authority in the space. So he had recently, 2 days earlier, spoken in an interview with my friend George Gammon that lives in Colombia. And George has his own channel that has, I don't know, 115,000, something like that, subscribers now. But George specifically talks about macroeconomics and really started his channel, I think, in around December of this past year. So it's only about a 5 or 6 month old channel.
That's impressive. Yeah.
So he has grown because he actually speaks from a position of not academia, because I don't know that he's actually done academia, but he has, he's a multimillionaire from paying attention to macroeconomics and, making decisions on, is something cheap or is it expensive versus price. And that's a hard concept for most people to understand. So I advise people to look at George Gammon. If you look at Gammon and you look up YouTube under, George Gammon, but if you just look up George Gammon, and you'll see that he recently interviewed, I think it was Ray Dalio. I think he also Richard or Peter Schiff, and people that really come from a gold bug community, or they're real estate people that are moguls inside of the real estate specific niche for the past 30 years. So recently, like 2 days before I saw that Simon Dixon was interviewed with Richard, he had done the same kind of context for about 2 hours with George. And it would be great to understand, Simon's point of view. Simon, in 2011 or so, started the regulatory banking process and is a shareholder in things like Kraken and some of the other major exchanges. Shareholder. Not that he owns coins, but he owns actually percentage of the revenues of these big companies. So you got to understand that, a centralized exchange is profiting from volatility and profiting from trade, whether a product that's being sold in a marketplace goes up in price or goes down in price. They're still profiting no matter which direction. So, Simon is part of an enabling system to speak to volatility and trade, and you on one computer competing with another person on another computer to take each other's money. So that kind of centralization, that kind of replacement for the banks by creating essentially new banks, is not what crypto, I think, was supposed to be, years ago. but that's really what it's developed into being. And another
Yeah.
point about Simon specifically is I remember when he had an ICO, because I remember buying into some of the ICO that he had. It was called BFT token, which is Bank to the Future token. And it was basically like Binance in that you would get some kind of discount from other ICOs being launched on the BFT platform. And initially, when it was put out there as a buy-in ICO kind of function, just like many of them in 2017, it was
Mm-hmm.
not KYC. And then
Yeah.
after it released, it became KYC. So you couldn't do anything with the token unless you were completely KYC and from an authorized country. So I think I still have like 5,000 BFT tokens somewhere that I will convert into HEX, just like every other alt that basically made a promise they couldn't deliver on.
Mm-hmm. It's crazy how much of that how much of that we saw in 2017. I mean, I know Richards even recently had like reps specifically about Cardano. Like someone, I think it was someone in the most recent chat that was mentioning like something about Cardano, and he was saying that like it's not even a completed project. You know, it's I just thought that part was kind of funny specifically.
Yeah, I
And
mean, we build tribal beliefs, and
mm-hmm.
part of them, I commented, maybe he's commenting about what I commented about a few days ago, was about Cardano, and it was about Ripple, and it wasn't berating the projects, but I'm saying that when you do have slings or arrows thrown at HEX, I would
Mm-hmm.
prefer it not to be a schoolyard fight. I would prefer it not to be a you're on that side of the river and you're wrong, and we are on this side of the river and we're right kind of battle, because we have that going on across the world in every context already. We already have a very divided nation in thousands of ways. And what I would
I
like to
agree.
see, yeah, and what I would like to see HEX represent is the good elements of what crypto can be. And I'm not saying completely kumbaya and that there's not a motivation here that has to do with revenue. What I am saying
Sure. Yeah.
is what I am saying is to understand the tribe of Bitcoin, the tribe of Ripple that's older than Ethereum, the tribe of Cardano that I believe is older than Ethereum as well. I think that Hoskinson
Damn.
was co-founder of Ethereum, so maybe they're around the same time, one right after the other. But
Yeah.
supposedly Cardano was being developed in 2015, but the ICO didn't happen until 2017, and then now
Okay.
it's 3 years later. So Cardano specifically has 5 years of development, uh, and still it trades at $2 or $3 billion market cap, based
Mhm.
on every little release of what's on a quote unquote roadmap. So it's not an honest statement when people say, like David Hay commenting recently, that Hex doesn't have utility. Well, Cardano doesn't have utility either, and it's been around
Yeah. Right.
has a higher market cap.
Hey, got a question about what your opinion is on this. So I know you said your next video tonight's going to be about tribalism, edification, and the other one. So this guy leads like sales says you cannot eliminate tribalism. It's basic human nature. What are
Yeah.
your thoughts there?
Yeah, there's some commentary. I made about an hour video maybe 4 or 5 days ago, but it took a long time to finally get it uploaded. And it
Okay.
was the first part of it was about our tribal instincts, and it was saying that under stress and duress, like in a battle environment or like a soldier environment or some level of conflict, we naturally revert to our tribal instincts, and that's part of
Mhm.
our survival. The methods that got us here are basically our ancestors of 1,000 years ago were completely tribal, and
Right.
that's built into our psychology. So I think it is part of our nature. However, I also think that there's a lot of profiting that comes from conflict inside of our society today.
Mhm.
We are in an attention deficit kind of world, meaning
Yeah.
that if I can hold your attention for 5 seconds because I'm competing with other uh, attention drawing things in the marketplace, then
Mhm.
I will profit somehow. So the most dramatic things in our human psychology have to do with loss of life. They have to do with fight and battle and struggle. And so there's a famous statement inside of journalism that says, if it bleeds, it leads. So we like
Mhm.
to see this conflict because it's part of our core. And part of our core is a friend or foe tribal, determination about who's going to lead this group. And that's part of our psychology. But what I'm trying to get at is that crypto, we're asking better things. Satoshi was supposedly asking better things of a value for value exchange mechanism. And before uh, the white paper of Bitcoin, there was, and there still is, this fiat battle and this debasement of what you consider valuable inside of a currency, inside of a fiat system. And that battle
Mhm.
was frustrating enough to develop a technology that was a proof of work, reduce a ledger on this side from one number to being a bigger number on that side, transfer kind of mechanism without going
Mhm.
to a centralized third party. So I see the tribal side of us versus them when it came to the Main Street versus the Wall Street, the Main Street versus the bankers, that in a fiat system that really only leans toward the banking class, the banker class. And I see that Satoshi was trying to address that through mathematics and through decentralization. So I'm
Right.
hopeful that something like HEX can be a product, can be a commodity, can be
Mhm.
transparent and more data point driven uh, system to prove not just number goes down over here, number goes over there, higher as far as transfer or trade of a digitally scarce token, an item, but also can bring out hopefully the and revive the intention, in my opinion, of crypto. It's
Right.
a little weird because we are using profit to get to the good side of humanity. It's
Mhm. Right.
the carrot, you know.
Yeah. That's exactly right. So I think you were kind of maybe touching on this point even last night, but wouldn't you say that what would you say has like more value, like trying to convince people that are in the tribes right now, like the Bitcoin maximalists or whatever coin maximalists? Do you think it's better to go after the to go after like the no coiners and the people that you might have a little bit in common with, or do you think as far as like what we should spend our attention on right now, like what do you think has more value?
Well, I have to wonder. So my heritage is a bit of American Indian. My grandparents
Okay, yeah,
on my mother's side were inside of reservation Cherokee. And when I talked with RG3 the other day,
nice.
he a little bit. He gave a little bit of knowledge about that heritage because he's very connected with the
That
Indian
was cool.
communities. But I do have to push back a tiny bit and say that
Hmm.
tribal behavior doesn't typically allow for advancement of a technology. And what I mean by that is,
Yeah.
a flint and an arrow and a technology of fire starting and how to build a teepee might be traded between communities and say, I have this thing and it has value, and you have that thing and your tool or your implement has value. Let's swap, right? But it takes a
Hmm.
certain, I think, mass of peoples in agreement to really move forward technologies. And so you
Yeah.
can see something like metalworks and even like the arms race between French and English, medieval times. How is it that we have 30,000 years of American Indian tribal history that peoples were occupying this land that didn't have really the same sorts of technology advancement and were overrun by Europeans. How is that? How did that happen? And in my
Mhm.
opinion, it is because the Romans learned from the Greeks from thousands of years prior to their empire and built on that knowledge. And the Greeks, I mean,
Yeah.
the English, thousands of years later, looked at the Romans and said, "Here's what here's what we can stand on. Here's a platform of knowledge and technology we can build on because we transcribe and we write these things, and we have certain people inside of our mass of 100,000 that live in a particular town. That some are going to be a Da Vinci, some are going to be a Copernicus, some are going to be come up with a printing press like the Gutenberg printing press. And what I'm getting at is you need a certain mass of people, in my opinion, that have a common interest with a tribe to to benefit not just themselves but to move things forward. And that's what I see really accelerated or sped up inside of crypto. Bitcoin is amazing from 10 years ago or 12 years ago. Ethereum is terrific because you can see the utility of the platform and programmable money. And in my opinion, Hex is doing exactly what it's supposed to be doing, which is to be programmed money. It's not programmed
Mhm.
money; it's programmed money, and it's
Yeah.
programmed based on game theory of participants, both current and in the future, and this self-writing, self value ratcheting truth engine mechanism is very powerful when people understand it better.
Mhm. I agree completely, Funding Jim. Wouldn't you say it's almost like easier to like tell someone like what Hex is about since we already have like in the traditional markets like CDs and certificates of deposit? Like, don't you think it's almost easier when like as opposed to like debating some sort of like toxic tribalist, that it's almost easier to to those people that might not be in crypto yet, but maybe they're in like traditional investments. Like I know a lot of people that are in stocks and whatnot. Like I think that's the cool thing about Hex. It's kind of easier of a way to like describe it. It's as opposed to like some of the other cryptocurrencies,
Yeah,
the time
uh,
deposit aspect.
I don't know. I don't know what it depends on the audience that you interact with.
Okay.
Um, like certain points of a person's life, their primary interest is different. So as a toddler, your interest might be one thing. It might be, what's dessert for dinner, what kind of entertainment am I going to have on the weekend? We're going to go to a park, we're going to go to the slip and slide, or whatever it is. So it's about entertainment and that rush. There's a high school level where we're learning our own personal identity, and the concerns of saying what this is an investment device probably isn't very attractive, I wouldn't think, to a 16 or 17
Mhm.
year old. But that's based on my bias. At 16 or
Right.
17 years old, I cared about gaming. I cared
Yeah.
about arcades, and I cared about being with my friends socially on a couch, playing some
Mm.
kind of combat game that was digital. So the
Right.
gaming
Okay.
side is powerful to certain era stage of a person's life, and I think probably in my 20s or so, I was in a more athletic environment. It was more military competitions kind of environment, that kind of drive. And still, I don't think I was thinking about investment. So what I'm saying is, if someone approached me as a toddler, a teenager, or as a 20-something-year-old, I would go deaf. I would just like, that's nice, whatever you're talking about. Not really
Yeah.
something I'm going to engage in. But
Okay.
I would play, if I looked at the gaming side of it, that's what's amazing about Hex is one is there's a gaming element. There's a speculative stickiness. There's a billion different data points. So if you're someone that likes maybe sports statistics about this football team and this player or this basketball player and how they scored or how you're handicapping basically a fantasy football kind of environment. There's a gaming aspect to Hex, and I
Mhm.
think that niche can be spoken to in the gaming element of it. Maybe it's 20 bucks. I would put $20 on a Atari game or a PlayStation game. Like, I can win, let me just
Yeah.
bet $20 and I will compete against the
Yeah.
pool of players. So there's things that will speak to different people based on their cultural bias, their stage of life. And at my point, and your point as well, probably, maybe you do look at what is the yield? What is the set it and forget it kind of yield? Can I stake something, not concern myself 24 hours a day about trading it in and out of a market, paying attention to a graph and seeing that, hey, it's on a dip and this is my opportunity versus it's on a high and here's my chance to sell at a profit and then rinse and repeat? I think that people get obsessed with anything, and obsession to me is detrimental to your physical and psychological health. So I love HEX in the set it and forget it context when it comes
Me
to
too.
accruing HEX interest on HEX that is staked.
I agree. I think it's pretty respectable from like looking at Richard Hart. I've been in crypto about like 3.5 years and have followed Richard Hart for maybe three and a quarter of those years. But I think it's pretty cool that he's gone from, like Bitcoin maximalist. He's even said himself to then talking about like trading, longing, and shorting, and then now where he's, blatantly recommending that people don't trade, because they're gonna lose their ass and whatnot. I mean, I think even the people in the crypto community right now can relate to that. A lot of people in maybe like 2017 that just bought and held, maybe at the top, or that tried to margin trade and got their asses handed to them. I think that's one of the cool aspects, at least about it too, is the point of that you make. Set it and forget it.
Right. Yeah, there's a competition side that I think that HEX can speak to, and that's kind of the classical buy low, sell high trade kind of mentality. And Crypto Cave, or people like that might look
Mhm.
at this in the future. They won't
Yeah.
right now because they're very BTC maximalist, and they're also very much about liquidity pools and how can I get in and get out to execute to make 100 coins into 110 coins. So that kind of gaming side of competition is still attractive to a lot of people involved in quote unquote crypto
Mhm.
or stocks or anything along those
Yeah.
lines. I just noticed today that
Yeah.
Steph Graham, who's a popular YouTuber, talking about financial products, and he's in his 20s and such, was
Mhm.
talking
Yeah.
about the or maybe it was Meet Kevin, might have been Meet Kevin, that was talking about,
Okay. Sure.
yeah, the millions that were put into stock, and I just knew it was going to bounce because you didn't know it was going to bounce. You trusted that the Fed was going to pump fake dollars into a marketplace and make your value surge. So I mean, again, there's a lot of stuff
Right.
you can say, aha, here's what's going to happen next, but it's not because you're so smart. It's because the Fed
Mhm.
is basically drowning the financial world with dollars.
That's a good point that you mentioned funding, Jim. I've got three older brothers, and they're into sports and whatnot, and me not so much. But one of them specifically is really into like the fantasy football, and so when you mentioned that the like the trading of the charts, the buy low, the sell high, the competition. When I was showing my brother like about HEX and whatnot, it was making sense to him. And even from like a no coiner's perspective, it's kind of cool that if they can relate it to something else that they're used to outside of like crypto in the real world.
Hmm.
What do you think about this guy? Conrad Zen is the real voice of HEX.
He's the Bitcoin Foundation guy. Yeah, he's an
Yeah.
interesting fellow. If you saw the stream with him, RG3, and I think Good Texture was in it, and some others.
Yeah, no, I did. Definitely did. He had some good stuff to mention. Yeah, I think people like them, or even like myself, like I mentioned earlier, I've been in crypto for over 3 years, and the first crypto that I got into was Litecoin, and that had like a pretty big community, and even Litecoin Moses, that's now into Hex. But it's pretty cool that we've got people like Richard Hart that have been in the community so long, or even people like Conrad that are now talking about the passive income that you can do with HEX, or even just like the long term staking, or even short term like buy and speculate,
Yeah.
for trading value.
Yeah, I'm gonna. Yeah, it's very interesting what is developing as far as interest in HEX specifically, and who is involved as a quote unquote whale, who is involved as I'm just going to chip in my $20 and see what happens. Like I'm going to throw a chip on a roulette table in Vegas. Random occurrence. Uh,
Mhm.
you know, the this is something that has I think stickiness to it, and I think that we'll be talking about it for the 10, 15, 20 years of a stake. I truly believe it will stick around longer than any other project I've seen in my short amount of exposure to crypto as a whole. I think 2016
Mhm.
I have like 3.5 years of knowing that this sort of thing existed at all. And
Yeah.
what I like about it is right now I think we're in a period of transition. It's really only had 6 or 7 months of adoption phase, but we still heavily rely on Richard to do the big fights, to
Mhm.
engage the Tone Vays or the Craig Wright or anybody from the Bitcoin core team. Like who's this other guy? What's the guy that wears the hat all the time? Asian guy that wears a hat and he's always a Bitcoin guy. I forget his name.
Max Kaiser maybe.
No, he wears like a
Okay.
cowboy hat. I forget his name.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I know who you're talking about. Shit,
Yeah,
I'm blanking on his name right now
he's a
too.
BTC maximalist to the nth degree. Um,
Yeah.
and we look forward to those kinds of conversations because they give us talking points. They give us a little bit of spicy drama. We appreciate that Richard slays other people's heroes and things like
Oh,
that.
yeah. Was it Jimmy Song or something like that? Is that the name?
What's his name?
Jimmy, like
Yeah,
Jimmy Song, maybe.
exactly.
Okay.
Jimmy Song, exactly. So I'm just saying that I'm not in this asset
Mhm.
uh, so that I can just watch um, gladiator fights. That's not why I'm in. This isn't
Yeah.
a am I not entertained kind of environment to me. This is how can
Right.
I put a bit of money in. How can I watch it hopefully grow and know that there's mathematics and there's code that are auditable and credible versus the quote unquote good intention of a founder or a team to develop a product in the future, right?
Mhm.
There's thousands of good intentions inside of Silicon Valley startups, but there's few and far between that actually create value for the participants in a network or people that find utility in the service or product that's created. And I think that Hex is one of those gems in the rough, or not in the rough, but these finished gems that's
Yeah.
unrecognized at the moment.
Right. Right. That is a good point to, yeah, not over glorify, uh, you know, people like Richard debating tone vays and whatnot and destroying people, but yeah, maybe the people that are in Hex, like I've yeah, like throughout the whole time that I've been in crypto, you know, a couple of years ago I was inspired to maybe like make some videos and put my actual face out there and not just hide behind a avatar. But it's cool that Hex has brought myself, RG3, even Hexologists, people that normally wouldn't have spoke about other coins, but are now like speaking about Hex. I think that's cool that, and even yourself with the talk about Hex. I think that's pretty cool that we've got a lot of people that are doing that now.
Yeah, I think it's a vested interest. I think that again, you're seeing Richard less active inside of Telegram, in my opinion, inside of Telegram, inside of streaming and how much content does he put out there. And that vacuum is, I believe, intentional. And I believe that that's
Mhm.
because it gives an opportunity for content creators that are that have context and understanding of what HEX is, so that they can broadcast themselves and not do so underneath the shadow of Richard, so to speak, or just feel like they're
Right.
coattails of Richard. I think that new ideas need to be brought to understanding and communicating what HEX is, how it operates, not just the mechanicals, but why the game theory that's embedded in the code exists. And
Mhm.
we can parrot a lot of quotables, but I don't think that that's something that will resonate with new audiences, at least inside of people that are cynical already inside of crypto to begin with. And when you were saying earlier about outreach to no coiners,
Mhm.
it's not the naivety; it's the fact that they have about crypto, and as far as bringing in a new pool of interested parties. But it is saying that, hey, I'm a person of integrity. I'm building this particular thing that is, how do you take IKEA furniture and hack it so that it has quality, or some aspect inside of your apartment that you need, right? So it's a tangent
Mhm.
thought, but it's nothing to do with crypto. And my point is, you'll be seen as an authority in other sectors and interests of your life if you can bring value to others in the ones that they are already interested in. So you can find these no coiner communities inside of a quick YouTube search, just filtering out and saying, "Hey, I'm kind of curious about how to garden at home." People had a lot of problems getting groceries in this recent shutdown, and maybe learning how to put a flower bed in and grow tomatoes. Once you learn how to do something yourself, it's your responsibility to educate others. And in my opinion,
Mhm.
part of my origin story is I was in a see it once, do it once, and then teach it kind of world for quite some time. So passing of knowledge is, I think, a duty and a responsibility to everyone. Especially inside of X.
What world was that specifically when you say see it once, do it once? Repeat that
So
too.
a farming culture, you're raised by a family of 4 to 5 individuals, maybe you have a bigger family, and
Mhm.
born into something like horsemanship or cattle raising, dairy farms, crops. Farming
Okay.
is very much, you see it once because mom or dad teach it, or grandma and grandpa teach it, and then
Right.
you're
Okay.
shouldering the responsibility of contributing to the family's welfare by putting in your work to support the family. So that's a see it once, do it once, and then teach others kind of world. The same sort of thing in the military. The military very much wants most people to be interchangeable, meaning that you should, at your core, in the Marine Corps at least,
Mhm.
everyone is a rifleman. Everyone is a combatant. It doesn't matter that you're a specialist in shipping and payroll and logistics of looking at um, high altitude photos and things like that. That might be your specialty, but at its core,
Mhm.
you are interchangeable and you are a Marine. So I look at
Okay. Yeah.
that see it once, do it once, teach it once, kind of, or teach it multiple times, um, as a principle that most of us should adopt.
Mhm. That's a
Medicine,
good point.
you're gonna learn medicine from mom first, probably because
Mhm.
you scraped your knee and she puts mercurochrome and a band-aid on your bloody knee as a way,
Right. Okay.
and you are starting to adopt that knowledge that you're going to absorb and teach others, which may be your own kids or siblings or people in your community. So medicine is another one of those, see it, do it, teach it, things.
Right. Okay. No, that makes sense. So you said with tonight's video that you're going to be doing tribalism, edification. What was the last topic that you mentioned? What was it?
No corners,
Oh,
adopting.
okay. No coiners. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Nice.
I'm going to jump off the stream. I have a couple of other things I have to do, but I'll be paying attention to your streams. Definitely, if you put stuff inside the HEX chat, anything that we can learn from each other is knowledge. Knowledge is knowledge. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you coming on, Funding Jim, and appreciate being able to learn from people like you when you mentioned, cross referencing, information that I can learn from you. You might be able to learn from me. I think that's a pretty cool experience to have. So appreciate you hopping on as well, my friend. And yeah, man, I'll definitely tune into your stream later tonight.
All right, see you around, man. Ciao.
All right, man. Peace. Okay, guys, so that's pretty much that. I'm going to end the stream right now. Hope everyone had a good time listening to myself and Funding Jim. There's definitely a lot more we can do as part of the community in HEX to onboard people and to even dismantle FUD as far as that goes. So yeah, hope you enjoyed the stream and catch you later. If you haven't already, Funding Jim, he's going to be doing a video tonight that he's saying on no coiners, edification, and tribalism. So definitely tune into that. Go on YouTube, type in Funding Jim, GYM, and subscribe to him, and I'll see you on the next video.